Welcome to Kid Missing TV. Today we're going to take a journey into the 1980s. Before we do that, I have an update on a case that we've been following very closely. The case of Kimberly Morrow, from Jay, Maine. As of August 11th, cadaver dogs have hit on several areas of the Enman property. That is one of the people that was last to see her and that allegedly dropped her off the night that she disappeared. He has not been officially named a suspect, but again, he was one of the last people to see her. Let's hope, for the family's sake, that they start digging pretty soon. I'll keep you updated on any further information. Thank you. Matthew Crocker disappeared from Van Buren, Arkansas on June 9, 1983. He was only 3 months old. The woman who abducted him had actually been taken in by his parents. They woke up to find the woman and their son gone. In 2015, a composite of the woman was made to show what she looked like at the time. Unfortunately, I was not able to find a copy of the composite, so it's not included on my poster. It is believed the woman used the name Kathy Johnson and had been working at a carnival in Fort Smith in June of that year. She's described as a white woman. She had several tattoos, including a unicorn on her upper left arm, the name Kathy with a ribbon around it on her upper right arm. She had brown hair. She also had other tattoos of green star and a yellow starburst on the left side of her chest, and a very long scar on the back of her shoulder, her right shoulder. Matthew would now be 32 years old. His parents and family continue to search for him because, let's face it, she probably raised him or sold him. He is probably most likely alive. If you have any information, you can call the Van Buren Police Department at 479-474-1234 or the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. Paul Baker disappeared from Beaufort, South Carolina on March 5th, 1987. He was just 3 years old. He was living with his dad, his stepmom, and his stepmom later on was convicted as a babysitter for abusing a child that she had in her care. She is the suspect in this case, as she did abuse him as well. They know this for sure. When she was convicted of beating the girl that she babysat, she received 10 years in prison, which is a good thing. She deserved longer than that. The beaten child is described as having missing patches of hair, bruising throughout her body. As a matter of fact, she only served a 30-day sentence altogether out of the 10 years that she got. It is believed, like I said, that they did something. I'm not sure whether the father had anything to do with it, and neither are authorities. His DNA is in the National Missing Persons DNA database, Paul's. And if you have any information, you can call the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office. Ask for Captain Bob Bromwich, 843-816-8013. Tanya Murrell disappeared on January 20th, 1983 from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. She was 6 years old at the time. She was last seen leaving the first grade. It was about 11 a.m., I guess that's when they got out, to walk home. She never arrived. In 2013, her best friend talked a little bit about the case. She is now 36 years old. As a matter of fact, she said at that time that Tanya told her she was going to the 7-Eleven to get some lunch. So I guess it wasn't necessarily the end of their day. They had to leave for lunch, which in some places they maybe did that later than in other places. Police interviewed one suspect twice in the case. The first time was kind of an informal chat. The second time was 5 years later. And that time it was done by the Ontario Provincial Police, long way from Edmonton. And it was hard-hitting and dragged on for 11 hours. When suddenly everything went south, the suspect glared at the detectives and uttered these taunting game-over words. F you. You ain't got a body. Yeah, I'd say that saying I'm guilty. Prove it. But that's just me. He was right. The police didn't have a body. However, a firm belief. A 99.5% belief he did it. The Murrells staunchly defended the suspect when police asked about him. Oh no, not Elle, not him, the mother pleaded. He's our friend. Close, but one too many letters. Mrs. Murrell, the guy was a friend. And they're describing him as a son of a bee. Mom and Dad were well aware the man was twisted, but welcomed him into their family anyway. Especially when he showed up with a case of beer. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And no one has heard from Tanya in the 30 years since her disappearance. So, they're pretty sure that there is almost no chance that she is living, unfortunately. And they really want to find her remains so they can put this man in jail. Don't know where he is now. Hopefully in jail for something else. My opinion. In 2012, Tanya's brother John died. And she only has one sister remaining to still search for her or bring her remains home for burial. If you have any information, you can call the Edmonton Police Service Detective Ralph Godfrey, 780-421-3382. Eileen Michaloff. This is a case we're probably all familiar with. She disappeared from Dublin, California on January 30th, 1989. This is in the San Francisco Bay Area, where the cases of Michaela Garrett, that we're all familiar with, that we've profiled on the show before, Amber Swartz Garcia, Amanda Campbell, and a few others disappeared from along the same time period. She was walking home from school the day she disappeared. A little background on Eileen. She was a very scholarly middle school student who wanted to be a pediatrician when she grew up. She was 13 years old. She was also a promising figure skater. She even competed against future Olympic gold medalist Kristi Yamaguchi. That's pretty cool. And she won many first place ribbons all over the Bay Area. Then, of course, she was snatched. The Bay Area went berserk because this was the third girl in 7 months to be abducted. And as I said, combined with other high-profile kidnappings in a handful of years, before that, most notably that of 10-year-old Kevin Collins in San Francisco, who we also profiled on this show. And they felt that it was a serial killer or abductor on the loose. And I think that that's a very good possibility in these cases. Each year, her family recreates the 2-mile walk she took from her school, Wells Middle School, to where she was last seen on San Ramon Road and Amador Valley Boulevard. The walk then continues to St. Raymond Catholic Church, where an incommunicable service will be held with the family's rabbi and cantor, and community members will speak about Eileen and the ongoing search for her. They do this every year. In March of 2015, the only update was that Eileen would have turned 40 years old. There is a website, find-Eileen.org. There's also a $95,000 reward in this case. If you have any information, please call the Dublin Police Department at 925-833-6670. Amy Sue Pagnac disappeared on August 5th, 1989. She was 13 years old. She disappeared from Osseo, Minnesota. She requires medications for allergies and has seizures due to unknown causes. She was last seen at the gas station. She was waiting for her dad in the car. She may have had a seizure and become disorientated, is one of the thoughts that authorities had. In 2014, Amy's case ramped up, and the FBI investigators and state forensic scientists searched Pagnac's house and dug up the backyard that May. In June, they dug up the family's farm in another county. Amy was honored in 2014 at what would have been her 20-year high school reunion. We are always looking for Amy, said her sister. And we still want anyone to come forward to tell us where she is basically what she was saying. And of course, the police captain on the case, Keith Terlinden, declined to say what prompted the searches, of course, because they usually keep this stuff close to the vest. Because it could compromise the investigation. And I have had a fair amount of tips since that time. We should mention that it was about 5 p.m. when she actually disappeared, when her and her dad left their farm. And they went along, the gas station was only 2 miles. Considering that they had a rural farm, the gas station was only 2 miles away, which is a good thing. He used the bathroom and found the car empty when he returned. There are a lot of theories. One of them that she could have been abducted for prostitution, because someone claimed to have spotted her in a strip club a few years later and at a bus or train station in 1992. But if you were one of the people that saw her, come forward, talk to police, tell them what you saw. Police haven't confirmed the details of these sightings, because again, they're keeping it close to the vest. But in the amount of time, more than 2 decades, has posed a challenge. It's become a cold case, of course. In 2013, Amy's case was mentioned in an Associated Press article on the new efforts to use DNA samples to identify human remains in the state. So I think they're planning on getting her DNA via her parents. In 2015, her mother said, "It is hard to imagine Amy looking any different than she did 26 years ago, and difficult getting used to the concept. Amy has wrinkles now." Her mother wrote on a Facebook page created to help bring Amy home. "We hope by next year you can compare this picture to Amy," meaning that they'll have her back. And again, the Maple Grove Police, of course, searched the area, searched the home. And it's natural that they search the home, that they do a little digging. It doesn't mean that they're suspects. They've never said that. They've never even said they were persons of interest. Like I said, there have been a lot of theories. Again, that she had a seizure and wandered off. You'd think they would have found her. Or she may have been abducted for prostitution. She was the right age. So any of those things are possible. I'm not saying the police did it. I mean, not the police. The police are not saying her parents did it, neither am I, is what I was trying to say. If you have any information, you can call the Maple Grove Police Department, Detective Travis Pabuda, at 763-494-6100. Kimberly Amiro disappeared on September 5th, 1985 from St. John, New Brunswick, Canada. She was 15 years old. Her sister Tammy Rains remembers the day very well. She remembers last time she spent with her sister. They were at the Atlantic National Exhibition. I'm not sure what that is, in St. John. Tammy had to leave early, so they walked to the bus stop together. But her sister, Kimberly, turned around to go back to watch the fireworks and then to return home. And her sister sadly says, "I was the last person to see her." They interviewed her sitting at a table with her brother and sister-in-law. In 2014, her mom's hope is to get her daughter's remains. Her mother had no hope at that point that she was alive. She'd been missing 29 years. It's hard when you come to that realization, you know. I can't even imagine. But Kimmy was 5 feet 8 inches tall, 110 pounds. Light brown hair and blue eyes, in case there's the smallest chance that she was alive. She also went by the name Kimberly Cormier and Kimberly Foster. Today she would be 45 years old. I wonder why she did that. As of 2015, she's missing 30 years, and the police were still actively investigating her case. Yeah, I find it interesting that she used other last names. I don't know why. And I apologize. At some point in there, I called her Kimmy. There's a reason for that, actually. My best friend's sister's name is Kimberly. We always called her Kimmy. So I see Kimberly, I say Kimmy. So if that's not what she was called, I apologize. If you have any information regarding this case, you can call the St. John's, New Brunswick Police Department at 506-648-3304. Local crime history. You want to talk local? This one took place in Manchog, folks. In July of 1935, Newell Sherman drowned his wife on July 20th in Lake Singletary. His trial began September 23rd in Worcester District Court. He was found guilty October 1st. That trial wasn't very long. And on August 4th, 1936, my birthday, although a couple of decades before, several decades before, he was electrocuted, killed in the electric chair in Boston. We don't have the death penalty any longer, but And he's buried in the West Sutton Cemetery. He was actually caught. His wife's name was Alice Doris Dudley. Dudley, of course, is a very prominent name in the town of Sutton to this day. It was a foggy night when he dispatched her in the lake. He was spotted by someone maintaining the lake. There was testimony by a Miss Esther McGill of Whitensville, his machine shop co-worker, that they had had relations. And she willingly did this and accepted $45 from him prior to the slaying. Bank deposit records prove this. I guess $45 is a lot of money back then to keep your mouth shut. I don't know. Matter of fact, McGill told him to drown himself. Nice lady. But as I said, the jury returned a verdict of guilty, and he was executed at 12:03 a.m. in the electric chair. As I said, we no longer have the death penalty here in Massachusetts, but it's interesting that this case happened right in Manchog. Who knew? There's been a book written with this case and several others in it. Because this case became so well known. Well, you never know what's going to put your little village on the map. Jesse Pomeroy was a 14-year-old serial killer. Yeah, you heard that right. He was a serial killer. He was nicknamed the Boston Boy Fiend. He killed in South Boston, Massachusetts between February of 1874 and April of 1874. He was the youngest person convicted of the crime of murder in the first degree in the history of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. His death sentence was commuted to life. There's a book, Fiend, The Shocking True Story of America's Youngest Serial Killer by Harold Schechter. I read that book. Highly recommend it. Got it through Interlibrary loan. In 1871 and 1872, there were reports of boys being enticed into areas and attacked by an older boy. This was all believed to be him, but he was never arrested. In 1872, they moved to South Boston from where they lived in another part of the state. Pomeroy's attacks on young boys continued. He was finally arrested and went before a juvenile court and found guilty and sentenced to the Lyman School for Boys at Westboro for his minority until he turned 18. The Boston Globe even covered the story. The last line of the article is generally concluded that the boy is mentally deficient. That is an understatement. In February of 1874, at the age of 14, he was paroled back to his mother and brother. His mother ran a dressmaking shop, and his brother Charles sold newspapers. In March, a 10-year-old girl named Katie Kern went missing. In April, the mutilated body of 4-year-old Horace Millen was found on the marsh of Dorchester Bay. Immediately, the police detectives sought out Pomeroy, despite lacking evidence implicating him in the crime. And the body of Katie Kern was later found in the basement of the dress shop, hastily and carelessly concealed in an ash heap. And there was a psychiatric report done on him in 1914 and quoted extensively in the Boston Globe after his death. noted that he had made 10 or 12 determined attempts to escape with handmade tools frequently found in his possession. The report claimed that he had shown the greatest ingenuity and persistence, which is unprecedented in the history of this prison. Oh, joy. In 1917, Pomeroy's sentence was commuted to the extent of allowing him privileges afforded to other life prisoners. At first, he resisted, wanting nothing less than a pardon. He eventually adjusted to his changed circumstances and appeared in a minstrel show at the prison in 1929. By that time, an elderly man in frail health, he was transferred from the Charlestown State Prison to Bridgewater Hospital for the Criminally Insane, where he died on September 29, 1932. I apologize if I was reading a lot of that. There's a lot of details in this case. And like I said, I read the book. I highly, highly recommend the book. And there's also a ton online about him. Amy Mahalovic. Amy was 10 years old when she was abducted from Bay Village, Ohio. She was abducted and murdered on October 27, 1989. Her body was located on February 8, 1990. James Renner wrote a book called Amy, My Search for Her Killer. Amy was sort of his Sarah Pryor, what Sarah Pryor was for me, the little girl in the pictures on the TV when he was a little boy. Of course, he had a crush on her. I don't go that way, so I didn't have a crush on Sarah. But and she just became sort of an obsession. And he wrote the book. He's done tons. He has a blog online that you can read that has a ton of information about Amy's case. Amy received a phone call from a man saying her mother had been promoted at work and to meet him at the Bay Village Shopping Center after school, and he would help her pick out a gift. He would buy a gift for her mom to celebrate her promotion. So she did this. She only told one of her little friends. She told a grown-up, baby grown-up, what is it? Yeah, bad idea. She was dumped shortly after her abduction, it appeared, and based on findings by the Cuyahoga County coroner, her last meal was some sort of soy, which is weird, possibly a soy-based chicken product or Chinese food. It's a bizarre meal to give to a 10-year-old. That may even be a clue. There were yellow gold colored fibers on her. The killer actually did take trophies. Her horse riding boots, her denim backpack, and a binder with Buick Best in Class written on it. And her earrings in the shape of horse heads, they were turquoise. Blood believed to be that of Amy was found in her underwear, indicating she may have been raped or sexually abused. There's also mitochondrial DNA from the crime scene that was sampled to use in future comparison to suspects. The Bay Village Police and the FBI have conducted an extensive investigation into her disappearance and murder. They have given dozens of lie detector tests, 20,000 interviews. This was described as the biggest search in Ohio's history since the disappearance of Beverly Potts, who we talked about on this show before. In 2014, investigators were asking for friends and acquaintances of her late mother to come forward. The Cleveland FBI said one day, but they're not really clear as to why. And interestingly, the man who called her told her to call her mom so her mom didn't worry. Now there is a new push, as I said, to find any information leading to the killer in this case. FBI Special Agent Lisa Hack has taken it over, and she was found in a remote location by not far from where she took riding lessons. That sort of area, on the side of a road. It is believed that people do have information that would resolve this case. I just want to say that if you want to know more about a whole bunch of theories and suspects that James has on his blog, go to his blog. None of these have been named by police, so I've chosen not to name them here. But you can go to his blog and learn more about that. His book may be difficult to get because it was only released in Ohio. I was lucky enough to get it through an interlibrary loan, but we no longer do interstate interlibrary loan here, so that may be a problem. If you have any information about this case, you can call either the Bay Village Police Department at 440-871-1234 or the Cleveland FBI office at 216-522-1400. Before we close the show, I just want to give you a quick programming note. Next time, we will be in the 1990s. Got some interesting cases, as always, for you. Thank you for joining us this time. I hope you learned something, and I hope if anybody watching this on television or especially on YouTube has any information, that they'll call one of the numbers that I gave and that will be on your screen. Please look at these pictures. Please share this video. Help these kids. Again, thank you for watching this. Thank you for keeping this going. I love doing it. God bless you. Have a great rest of your day and rest of your week. Good night.